Most entrepreneurs work hard for conversion, but skip the 2 steps that make conversion inevitable: congregation and connection. When you master these 3 things, your business and life will change. And at the end, your life is your business, right? Conversion is really a persuasion issue. It's a relationship outcome. When you build congregation first and connection second, conversion becomes the natural step. And I get it. We as entrepreneurs, we are sitting at home in our home office and we work hard. We work hard on creating content. We work hard on getting people to buy our stuff. And we are wondering, what is the friction? What is the issue? And believe me, I've been there. For the longest time, by nature, I'm a creator. I love creating new stuff and I love to serve. And I've sometimes sit for days creating new programs and making the artwork pretty. But there's nobody there that knows about it. And I have not made any connections. And here's the thing. I know how it feels when you have good stuff, but nobody is buying it. And it's not just that you miss out on income, but you miss out on impact. What you have is precious. What you can share, your expertise, your experiences can help someone else to have a better life. And it is up to you to get it out into the world. Now, maybe you have a great, huge marketing budget, or perhaps even a person who does it for you. Good for you. And then you probably get conversions that way. But for most people, especially those who are just starting out, that's not the case. They have to do it on a natural way, organic marketing. And the best way to do this is when you build connections. How do you do it? You have to go out to find the right places that you can connect with people that is your right audience, right? If you gear towards dog lovers and you have dog services and maybe even products, but you go to cat conventions, you probably will not get the outcome that you want. So you also want to see who are the like-minded people that you want to connect with. I hope you enjoyed what I shared so far. And before I go on, if you can give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, and share this episode with a friend. So let me give you an example. I just came back from a convention, and that was the Podfest Expo. Now, I have been going to Podfest for some time now, and I've been a speaker in the past. I've been a participant in the past. But over the last couple of years, I started making deeper connections. And that means, it's not happening from one day to another that all of a sudden you have all these connections and that turns into business, new business. Sometimes it can, but it is a matter of building strong relationships first. And I've been in this business, online marketing business, for several years now. I've been in business for many, many years, but that was a brick-and-mortar business. I used to own a performing arts school that I ran for 25 plus years. And in that capacity, I was together with people, right? And I had no problem to get business because that business was built on a relationship. When I sold my studio and shifted to the online space, coaching, selling courses, I found myself in my home office, no one around except my 2 dogs. And I appreciated that. But they are not my customers and they want to get fed by the stuff that I sell and the income that I make. So they're also an important part of it. But what I wanted to say is it took me a while to realize, no, I cannot be just in my home office. I need to go out and connect with people. And over the years, that built and built and built. And this year, I just released my new book, my memoir, GUMPTION. Where do I have it? I'll plug it in here right away. Yeah, you see it? Sacred Whispers, Bold Moves, and the Courage to Become. Last year, I was home quite a bit because I was writing my memoirs. And that means, yes, you are sitting down in your own little bubble. But over the prior years, I created relationships. I worked on those. And it's not that I just wrote the book and stopped being with people. I continued to be on summits, go on podcasts. But what I wanted to share with you is sometimes there is that tipping point that you experience. And that tipping point means you may have worked for a long time, months, years even, in building relationships, in building connections, and nothing really blossomed from it yet to the fullest. Yeah, something probably happens because it just does. But then at one point you reach the tipping point, meaning all of a sudden it feels like people are coming to you. It feels like people want what you have. It feels like the floodgates open and everything comes towards you without you working for it. And that is because you put the time in in congregation and connection. Congregation means you go to conventions, to conferences, to networking events, to gatherings, whatever that is. That's a congregation, gathering of people. And from that gathering, you make connections. Some are superficial, but then some go deeper. With some people, you build a relationship. I remember, it was before COVID even, 2019, I participated in a mastermind, and there was a couple people that I connected with. And when that mastermind was over, I continued building my own mastermind and inviting some people in. And through that mastermind, there was one person that continued working with me, and we became friends and colleagues. And that was very powerful. It was a very powerful understanding because that one person also had connections, and I connected her to my community. So this is how it builds. And then some are more business relationships, but when you nurture those relationships, it will pay off over the years. I'm also in another community called Owwll, and I'm going to put the information in the show notes and the description to check it out. But what that community is, it's an app on your phone, and you can pick up the phone and click any person that are on the app or that is on the app and call them and have a conversation. And at the beginning, I didn't quite understand the power of it. But once I got it, and the owner, Jason Hill, he is fantastic explaining the benefit and the outcome you can have when you utilize that app. So I started doing this. And boy, wow, things changed. I made the connections, and the people on the Owwll app later on had the pleasure also meeting in person, getting even involved in their program, being part of their program. And then people were part of my program, and I got speaking gigs from that. Can you believe that? And through the community like Podfest, podcasters community. Last year, I made beautiful connections. And through that one connection, I got connected to a New York publisher. And I pitched my book idea, and they wanted me. And this is the result a year later. You see, it all came from congregation first, going through those places like the Podfest Expo, then making the connection with the right people, and then you will see the outcome. This year, a couple weeks before, I went to speak there. From that speaking workshop, I got new followers, new people who wanted to work with me, wanted to learn more about that topic. I also connected with other people who wanted to have me on their podcast. And through all these connections that will help me now in promoting my book, but not just that, but also starting gathering another community around that topic that I discuss, GUMPTION. And I share a framework in my book that will help so many people become more successful in their lives and business. Some people ask me, okay, what's about? It's a memoir, of course, but many people don't know me yet. So how I explain it is, it's somewhere between Chicken Soup for the Soul, Think and Grow Rich, and The Secret, because I combine the wisdom and everything that I learned and the secret that I discovered in my book, and I connect this with stories. Chicken Soup for the Soul. So the stories are the glue that glues all those little pieces together, and every reader will get something different out of it. It depends on where you are on your journey and in your life. You may read one chapter and say, whoa. And another person, okay, but they read another chapter and get that aha moment. And that is the power of books and the power of story. Because I'm also known as the storytelling dame from Germany. Because as a former actress and director, I know the power of stories. And when I pitched that book, actually, I didn't have a book, but that one lady who interviewed me prior to getting in touch with a New York publisher, she came to me and said, wow, Sabine, you need to write a book. And I smiled because I already wrote 3 books, which I shared with her. But then she was persistent and said, no, you need to write your memoirs, your biography, your stories, because you have such a colorful life. And all the wisdom that you just shared with me, they are worth sharing and bringing it out to a greater audience. And I thought about it and said, yeah, she's right. Because at the end, this is what I always tell my clients and students. Hey, you have to share your story, your wisdom. And that's how I decided to see that publisher who was also there at Podfest, who had a sign that says, pitch your book and we will give you feedback. Well, I didn't have a book, but I thought it would be a good idea to get feedback. Another very important part, whatever you have, whatever you think about doing or developing or bringing out into the marketplace, ask for feedback. Is it even something people want? And when I met with the director of publishing, I told her that story that somebody said I should write my memoirs. And I said, I do have some important stories and wisdom to share. And I shared only 2 snippets, 2 very impactful stories. And she was taken by that. She said, Sabine, you're a good storyteller. You know that, but your stories are powerful. You need to write this book. And so that was a confirmation. When you are able to share your stories in a way that impacts people, many things can happen. If I would have just shared, yeah, I was growing up in Germany and, I'm just kind of giving a news report, she might have not said yes. But I framed it in a way that was powerful. And that was the deciding factor. And I even researched that company, that publisher, because I thought, well, maybe they offer a book deal to everyone, right? We always have that little, reserved voice there in the back of our heads. But no, they don't. So they get about 5,000 pitches a year, and they only take about 150. That's 3%. Think about that. So that was pretty powerful. But now coming back to those three words we discussed: congregation, connection, conversion. Now, conversion means many different things for many different people. Conversion is, hey, I pitched my book idea and it turned into a book. That is a conversion. And selling this book will also turn into income. That is a conversion. You may have a conversation with someone, sharing your expertise, giving them feedback, giving them the nuggets of wisdom. And then they realize, because you built that relationship first, and then they realize, oh boy, I want to work with you. And you can do this, by the way, through speaking. When I spoke on conventions or conferences, through just sharing my story and my wisdom and using my speaking formula, the talk formula, that naturally turns into conversion, because you don't want to sell. People don't like to be sold, but they love to buy if it is something that could help them. And I had many people after I talked came up to me asking to work with me for my program, for my coaching program, or buying my book. And here's another story I want to leave you with. When I spoke at the event, of course, I offered, if someone wants to work closer with me, I gave them some opportunity to do that. And I also give them something for free. But a day later, I got a text we are on an app for this convention. So all the people that participate can also contact you, and you can contact them on that app called Owwll. And so all of a sudden I get a message from a lady I met 2 years prior at Podfest. And we haven't spoken and we haven't seen each other for a long, long time. And all of a sudden I get that message. Oh, Jessica, yeah. And you know what she wrote me? She said, yesterday I had a dinner with a friend and she attended your workshop. And she told me that this was one of her favorite workshops that she attended at Podfest. So, oh my gosh, you see how connections can work, even if you totally forgot about a person or haven't had connections in a long time, but you had that connection during a congregation, in this case, the Podfest conference that connected us because we both are podcasters and we were on each other's podcast. And years later, this came back. Then we met and I said, well, I have another event. I am on the authors panel. And she said, oh, I want to come. So then she came and we had that wonderful conversation afterwards. And then even from that relationship, I was able to help her with something totally different that had nothing to do with my book. But there was also something I'm passionate about health and something that I'm using, and she was in pain. So I helped her sharing this and gave her that. So she felt that relief. And has nothing to do, that was not my intention. But this is when you have a genuine relationship that turns into conversion. So I shared that opportunity with her as well. And then you will just see whatever happens, it's out of your hands. But when you do those three things, number one, find places where you can congregate, conferences, communities, networking events, expos, anything that are people that you can relate to, that you can connect with. And then make those connections. Go to someone and have a genuine conversation. And don't feel any pressure. You have to sell anything or whatnot. You have to get anything. Give, 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 and you shall receive. By the way, receive is the word for this year. I always have a word every year. I started it a few years back, and boy, it's very powerful if you haven't done it yet. So receive is my word for this year. And so far, it has been very good. And we are only in January. And you will see eventually it will turn that relationship once you congregate and you make those connections that will turn into conversions. It can look like getting new friends, getting new support, getting new clients, getting new or more income, whatever it may look like for you. So I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear if something resonated with you. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. I can't wait to hear. And if you like, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet. And if you feel this video can help someone else, please share it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And always remember, we have to become the person we are meant to be, to live the life we are destined to live. Remember, my friend, go out into this world, serve from the heart, follow your passion, and live the life you imagine.